Elder Elric had entered the Dark Tower. He scurried behind a Doom faction guard as they traversed a darkly lit stone staircase. The entire kingdom of Calandria itself was only one of several kingdoms under the control of the Doom faction. In general, rules dictated that Doom faction officials refrain from interfering in the petty squabbles of the lords of Calandria, and instead focus solely on international matters and other issues of great importance. The Doom faction itself was a mysterious group made up of the greatest spiritual warriors that the land could muster. This was why they took such a great interest in the spiritual warrior examinations. The Doom faction had a single head officer who ruled over the entire kingdom of Calandria on their behalf. Although the kingdom had a king, his powers were solely over the nobles and commoners of the land. For any significant spiritual matter or kingdom-threatening issue, the head officer was in charge, for he was, of course, the strongest warrior in the kingdom at the spiritual fighting rank of Divine Level 1. Beneath him were 4 deputy officers, one for each of the fiefdoms of Calandria. Each deputy officer lived in a great tower overlooking their respective dukes' keeps, a constant reminder of their subservience to the Doom faction. Each deputy would collect information on all pertinent matters in their fiefdom and send it along to the head officer. Finally, as Elder Elric and the guard reached a landing, the guard motioned toward a black door at the end of the hall. "Knock first. Deputy Officer Kane is a busy man." Elder Elric nodded as he passed the guard and went to the door. Timidly, he knocked. "Knock, knock." A voice called out to him from the other side of the door. "The spiritual fighting examination is not over yet, Elric. What do you want to see me for?" Elric cleared his throat. "Deputy Officer Kane, sir, I wish to report that a young man has already completed the exam. It is my opinion that he may, in fact, be a child prodigy. You may wish to scout him out and judge his talent before some other faction interferes." Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind pushed open the door, and Elder Elric was pulled into the room by it. Across the room, Deputy Officer Kane stood by an open window, contemplating the walls of Duke Godricson's keep. As the gust of wind released him, Elder Elric turned and bowed toward Kane as the officer smiled. "No need for all that. Just tell me exactly what you saw. I want every detail now. What is the name of this young man?" "Sir, his name is Nathan Hayfield." Meanwhile, Nathan left the mostly empty inner stadium and headed outside the plaza. As he casually walked across the racetrack, most of the fans watching the running stage gave him quizzical looks. He had won the race so early on that most spectators hadn't fully realized what he'd done. "What's he doing coming out of the stadium already? I thought that was the last stage. There's no way that Hayfield kid finished this fast. Could it be that he's just taking a break? Maybe rest a couple of hours and then come back to try to finish the other stages?" This last guess made the most sense to the crowd, as most students were only just now finishing the racing stage and were catching their breaths before moving on to the strength stage. "That's got to be the reason. I mean, that kid's a Hayfield, right? Hasn't their family talent waned over the past few years? I mean, according to the rumors, they're barely hanging on to their nobility status." "It's too early for him to give up now. He should go back to it and give it his all instead of stopping to rest so quickly. Why, back in my day—" "Brother, look over there at the Hayfield boy. He must have given up already." Grimgor Raven pointed out Nathan to the High Lord Raven as he walked out of the plaza. The nobles of House Raven sat together in a private box overlooking the track. They had come to witness Cedric take the exam. The High Lord Raven's eyes narrowed, and his nostrils flared as he ignored Cedric's attempts at the strength stage to instead spy on Nathan. Nathan Hayfield. How could you possibly think to go against us now?" Nathan approached Amelia and Ulrich on the outskirts of the plaza. Down at the edge of the square, he hugged Amelia as Ulrich frowned, confused. How could his son have finished the test so early? "Nathan, did you? How did—" "Yes, father?" Ulrich pulled his son away from Amelia and whispered in his ear. "Nathan, how did you come out to us so early? Have you finished the exams? Don't tell me you cheated now." Nathan simply chuckled and spoke loud enough for both of them to hear. "No, father, I didn't cheat. I just finished quickly. I don't have to wait here for everyone else to finish, do I?" Ulrich's brow furrowed. He couldn't help but be skeptical. After all, he'd never known anyone to finish the spiritual warrior examination with such speed. Even if he had participated in it himself, he would have needed more time. "Tell the truth now, lad. Are you really done with the exam?" "Honestly, father, I have completed it. Ask any stage official if you wish." Ulrich scratched his head as he tried to understand what had just happened. "I know Nathan got stronger, but this is inconceivable. After all, he's just a boy." Before Ulrich could respond to his son, another voice cackled out of the nearby crowd.
"Poor, weak little Nathan. What's wrong? Got a stubbed toe? Why have you given up on the examination so early? I mean, I hoped you would fail terribly, but this is just embarrassing."
Carlton Crane pushed his way through the throng of onlookers toward the Hayfield family. His lips curled into a taunting sneer. It was obvious that he wished to bully them. Despite Amelia and Ulrich's looks of concern, Nathan stepped forward to face Carlton, not even a little bit unsettled by his presence. Nathan knew that once the results were posted, unless something nefarious occurred, Carlton would no longer have anything to laugh about. "I'll tell you what's embarrassing, Mr. Crane. When I finished the speed stage, I looked behind me and saw your poor son, John, huffing and puffing his way around the third lap. He was barely standing straight, let alone walking fast. You might want to go check on him and make sure he doesn't wander off the track and get lost." Nathan smiled politely as Carlton's face soured into a grimace. Nathan knew that the power of his Asura weakening aura, even at its weakest stage, would be enough to ensure that John would fail to finish the examination before nightfall. Carlton's face grew red.
"Please, your jealous words disgust me. You think my son is a sniveling weakling like you? Just wait and see what the results show. They will undoubtedly reflect the nobility results in just a few weeks."
"For once, Mr. Crane, I actually agree with you. All I can tell you is the truth. Whether you believe me or not, that's up to you. Father, sister, let us leave this place. I've done everything I need to do here." With that, Nathan motioned for them to leave. Ulrich nodded his head, and together the three Hayfields left the square as veins nearly popped out of Carlton's face.
"Go ahead, then. Scram! You're just jealous of our strength, you pathetic little worms."
But nobody was left to respond to Carlton. He continued cursing at the air as the crowd around him ignored his shouts and instead focused on watching the exam. It was lunchtime when the Hayfield family got back to the hotel. Ulrich quickly ordered up a feast for them to celebrate, but he himself was still reserved about his son's performance. "Amelia's overjoyed, as she should be. That girl has undying faith in her brother. But as a warrior myself, I know in my heart that what Nathan told me is impossible. Amelia, be a good daughter and get your father a flagon of wine from the cooks downstairs. Make sure they get the finest stuff they have for us to celebrate." "Yes, father. Perhaps I'll even join in the celebration tonight. Nathan's done so well, he deserves a proper party." "You're quite right. Thank you, lass." Amelia hopped up from their meal, tousled Nathan's hair, and hurried out of the room. As soon as she was gone, Ulrich's mood grew somber. Nathan locked eyes with his father, who waited to see who would blink first. Nathan calmly held his father's gaze until Ulrich blinked first. Slam! Ulrich slammed the table as he wiped his eyes.
Father, are you all right?
Heavens, damn it! Now tell me the truth. There's no way you could have possibly finished that examination so quickly.
Father, I promise you, I'm not lying.
But how is that even possible, lad? Did you really pass all 3 tests? Suddenly, the door opened again. Amelia was back with several large flagons of wine. She paused as she entered the room and sensed the change in mood.
What's happened? Father doesn't believe me. He wants to know how I did on the examination.
Amelia frowned. She also grew concerned.
Go ahead then, little brother. Tell us how you scored.
Nathan smiled.
Father, sister, please listen to me. You have nothing to worry about. I passed all 3 stages with a perfect score.
Ulrich's jaw dropped. Amelia's face froze. Finally, she was able to respond.
You passed all 3 stages? Truly? And with a perfect score? That's what they stamped on the papers they gave me. Unless there's some sort of funny business, I should receive a perfect score when the results are posted.
Nathan still had some reservations about the sanctity of the examination itself. It was well known in Godric's land that some officials favored the wealthier nobles over the weaker ones. Were House Raven to somehow influence the judges, it might just be possible for them to corrupt the results. However, Ulrich and Amelia couldn't care less about that. They wondered aloud at Nathan's strength and prodded him with more questions about the exam.
Go on then, son. I want to know everything that happened. Please, every detail if you can.
Nathan nodded his head. He knew that there was no way they'd believe him if he didn't describe his feats in detail, so he shared every tidbit about the spiritual fighting examination. Hours later, when the meal was finished and the flagons were empty, Ulrich shook his head in amazement.
My little lad, you actually destroyed all 10 enchanted puppets during the combat stage?
Ulrich squinted his bleary eyes. He himself knew the power of those wooden puppets, and although he knew his son was strong, he found it hard to believe that Nathan could have taken on so many all at once.
That's right. At first, I felt bad about breaking them like that, but when I spoke with the officials in charge, they didn't seem to mind. Incredible. Truly incredible.
Ulrich took a deep breath and finally turned to his son.
Nathan, I've always trusted you and your judgment. If you say this is what happened, then that is what happened. But part of me still finds it all hard to believe. I thought you might say that. Father, what would you say to a little strength competition of our own?
Nathan had planned to reveal his true strength to his family during the aristocracy examination, but now he knew that Ulrich would be unable to eat or sleep properly until he saw it for himself firsthand. Ulrich grinned.
What exactly do you have in mind?